Hey guys, so today's video is on Integrated Assignment 1. Integrated Assignment 1 is going to be located in your Quizzes and Assignments tab on Blackboard. It's going to be underneath your Assignment 1 and 2. If you haven't completed those, again, I highly recommend you get those out of the way ASAP, right? But again, you have until June 8th for the final submissions, right? But just get them out of the way, and there's videos on each one of them on how to complete each of the assignments. But the integrated assignment, that one, the due date is May 4th, and that's not a flexible date. That's the date that is due, right? So by May 4th, by 11:59 that night, integrated assignment 1 is due. So let's click on the instructions and see what it's about. So again, it's the quantitative reasoning part of integrated assignment 1, right? You guys are used to how the integrated assignments were from last week. There's going to be two files like most of your assignments, right? For this class, one is going to be the Word file and one's going to be the Excel file, right? As you guys know, the theme of this house is immigration, and with that being the center point, we're going to have some analysis of quantitative data, right? So what I provided with you guys is a data set. This comes from the 2018 Yearbook of Immigration Statistics, and basically you could read this, right? It gives you this yearbook of statistics. It tells you a lot of stuff about immigrants getting their green card, how many were granted asylum, refugee, naturalized, and whatnot, right? We're using one of the tables, right? They have several tables. We're just going to use one of them, right? You are provided with one of these tables and represents persons obtaining lawful permanent residence, so green card, and it's divided up by regions and selected countries of their last residence. So when people coming in, when they first came to America, what country did they come from, right? And this is only for people that obtained green cards. So not all immigrants, just people that obtained their green card in 2018, from 1820 up till 2018. Right, using this table, you're going to choose, I'm going to show you in a bit. All right, there's three tasks, 1, 2, and 3. Out of those 3, you're going to choose 2, right? So you don't have to do all 3, right? You don't have to do all 3 tasks. You're only going to do 2 of them, right? And you choose which one. You could do task 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, or 1 and 3, whatever combination you want to do, right? Along with the Excel component, you got to do the Word component for each task, right? And for the Word component, you're expected to write one full paragraph explaining the graphs that you make in the Excel part and answering the questions associated, right? So let's say you did task 1 and task 2, you will do the Excel part of task 1, the Word part of task 1, right? That's one paragraph explaining the graph and also answering these questions. And then the Excel part of task 2, and then the Word part of task 2, again one paragraph for the Word component, right? So 5 to 8 sentences, right? Not, I don't expect to get 2 to 3 sentences from you guys, right? And this is for each task you're going to do. Again, you only have to do 2 out of the 3. So let's look at each of these tasks, and then we're going to look at the table, right? So the first one says create a line graph that represents the number of persons obtaining lawful residence from all 7 regions. So when you look in the table, you see that there's 7 major regions that we look at: Europe, Asia, North America, Central America, South America, Africa, and Oceania, right? That basically means Australia and the islands near that region, right, in the Pacific. All right, between they have it from 18, they have it from all of 2018, but for this one, I want you to create a line graph only from 1820 to 2000, right? So let's go back. Here's what the data looks like, right? I like zooming out a little bit, that way you see more of it, right? So here's the decades: 1820, 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, all the way up to 2018, right? So after 2010, it's every year, but before 2010 is every 10 years, as you can see, right? So what I want you to graph is between 1820s all the way up to 18 up till 2000s, right? So this, but I want you to graph it for every major region, right? And by the major regions, I mean Europe, Asia, North America, Central America, South America, Africa, and Oceania, right? So my recommendations for this task, is open up a new, if you choose task 1, right? open up a new sheet, right, and highlight these years, right? Highlight these years up till 2010 for this one, right? Up till 2010, right click, copy, right? Now these are your years, so we're going to call this year. Now if I pasted this right now, right, it would paste in the horizontal axis, right? I don't want to make your life easy, I'll show you guys a trick, right? I don't want it paste in the horizontally. I want it to paste vertically, so I want the years to go down instead of side by side. I want it to go down, so from 1820, 1830 all the way up to 2000s, right? The way you do that is you right click. I don't think it copied yet, so copy. Right now I know those lines around it, that means I know it's copied. Right click, and I want to choose this one right here, the one that says transpose, right? So if I just pasted it, it would be this way, right, horizontally, but if I choose transpose, it does it vertically, and that's what we want, right? You see how they're all vertical? That's what we want. So the next one, what did it say? It said for all 7 regions, so I'm going to do it for Europe first. But here's another thing I want you guys to remember. Remember freeze pane. I taught you guys that last semester. Your professor might have taught it to you guys, right? If you scroll in your statistics class, if you scroll down, the years disappear. When you get to Asia or North America, the years disappear. And then when you scroll to the right, the major region disappears. So you want to click on this corner right here, right? This corner right next to total and 1820. You want to go to view. I'm already on it. Freeze panes. Freeze panes. Now if I scroll down, the years are stuck in the right place and the regions are stuck in the right place, right? So I want to take Europe and I want to take these are all the immigrants, right? So that's what the data says. If you look closer, right? This is in 1820s. It's saying the total number of people that obtained their permanent residency or got their green card was 128,502, right? This many from Europe, and then it has a breakdown of Europe. This many from Asia, this has a breakdown of Asia. This many from North America, breakdown, and they do it for every decade all the way up to 2018, right? So for the first one, I just want the major regions, and I bold them for you so you don't get confused, right? Asia, Europe. So what you could do is once you click on Europe, right? If you try to do this, you see it might be hard just to keep it steady. So to make life a lot easier, you click here, you hold Shift, and you just keep on clicking that the right arrow, right? You just click, hold. That way there's no, and I want it to go up to, oops, so I could do it. Go back to Europe. Next, I'm holding Shift the whole time, right? All the way up to 2000s, and then copy. And then this is going to be for transpose. Remember, this is going to be for Europe, right? And if you guys get these hash, let me make sure you just drag it. So do this for the year, do it for Europe, do it for all 7 regions. So Asia, North America, Central America, Central America, yep, Central America, South America, Africa, Oceania. Do it for all of them, right? Then you should be able to make that line graph easily, right? Remember, in the line graph, it's going to be one line graph, but it's going to have 7 lines in it, right? Each line is going to represent a different major region. So it's going to look like a line graph with multiple lines on it, and each line is a different color, and each of the colors represent a different region. Next week I'm going to show you guys a video on how to make graphs again. I showed you guys last semester, but I'm going to show a refresher and we're going to be working on this all throughout next week, right? This integrated assignment. After you do that, you answer the prompt, right? What trends over time do you see when comparing the number of persons obtaining lawful residence from each region? How was the number of immigrants obtaining green card? Green card is the same thing as permanent residency, right? Lawful residency is the same thing, right? I just, instead of having to write it over, I just wrote green card. How has the number of immigrants changed over time for each region? Has it increased a lot? Has it decreased a lot, right? Has there been a shift? Constantly refer to the graph to provide that as evidence, right? So keep on talking about the graph every time you make a statement, and remember a paragraph. But before we get to that, I just want to remind you guys that, but before we get to that, I just want to remind you guys that remember you're submitting a Excel sheet and a Word document, right? So in the Excel sheet, if you're doing task one, I expect you to upload whatever you copy and pasted it, and the graph that you're gonna make over here on the Excel sheet. Make sure you upload this file, right? Change the name, call it your name, right? Here you could, if you're doing task one, you could right click, rename, call this task one, right? If you choose to do task one, you copy and paste all the right numbers in the right places. You create the graph. The graph's going to be here on the side or underneath it, right? Whatever, that will be one of the tasks that you do. Now for task two, what does it say? Create one table that lists all 7 major regions, the number of persons obtaining lawful residency in 2018 for each region, the total number of persons from all regions, right? The total number of persons obtaining green card basically, and the percentage of persons obtaining lawful residence from each region compared to the total number. All right, and then I want you to create a pie chart that shows the percentages obtaining green card, right? And then answer the word prompt. Again, this is very similar, but instead of from 1820s to 2000s, I want it for only the year 2018. So for this, what I expect you guys to do is on the Excel file, so let's make a new sheet, call this task 2, right? Go back to the original table. Here, instead of all the data, I want just the 2018, right? So again, one way you could do it, and I told you guys, create a table, right? So this is how you create a table. So going back to task 2, call this 2018, right? You go right. Actually, the easiest way is this way, 2018 for Europe, for Asia, for North America, right? It's going to take up some space, so let's drag this over, right? And just write down how many people got um, their green card in 2018 from each of the 7 major regions, right? So you don't stop in North America. Make sure you go down all the way to all 7, right? And you get the information from right here, right? So this is for Europe. Scroll down. For Asia, it's this one, right? When you click on it, look on this region right here. It kind of highlights and tells you if you're clicking on the right one. So this is for other Europe. So we want to click on the one below. It's going to say Asia, right? And it's usually the around the region, it's usually the highest number. So you see 85,000, much higher than 3,000. This one right here, Asia, much higher than the one around North America. This one right here, 335, much more than the other ones, right? So try to get a hang of, make sure you're getting the right number. 58, much higher than the other one, right? So write the complete numbers for each one of them, right? So, and the way you make a table is, remember, you highlight whole, go to home, and you click on right here. These are your borders. Once you complete it, you can click all borders, and you make a table out of it, right? What did it also ask? It asks that the total number of persons from all regions, right? So over here at the bottom, make sure you have one that says total, and over here you give me the total of all of these, right? Remember, I taught you guys a way to do this, right? Again, I'll show you another video on how to do it. Find the total. You could use equal sign sum, right? Sum, once you get all the numbers, highlight it, close parentheses. This will, right now it's empty, right? But this will tell you the total, right? And the last thing I want on that table is the percentage, right? Percentage compared to the total. So over here, another column, percentage, right? Make this big. So this entire thing, this is new green card holders, right? So let's call this new green card holders, right? So if you're doing task 2, this is showing you the number and it's showing the percentage of new green card holders. So I could just click on merge cell, and that's this cell. It's going to be That's how the table is going to look, right? This is your region, right? And you can make it bold, make it bold, right? This is your regions. This is your 2018 number. This is your, again, you can make this bigger. This is your percentage, right? And by now you guys should know how to calculate percentages. We went over this, right? It's going to be each of the numbers, right? Each of the numbers divided by the total times 100, right? That's how you get percentage. And give me up to 2 decimal places, right? So do this on Excel. Everybody should be doing this on Excel, right? So for each one, it's going to be equal sign the number for Europe, let's say, divided by the total. This one, number for Asia divided by the total. Number for North America divided by the total, right? So you should be able to do that. And then you answer, then you create a pie chart, right? Remember how to create a pie chart. I will go over this next week, but you will create a pie chart. That pie chart will be right here, over here, and the pie chart will have slices, and each of the slices is going to be a different region. Next, you answer the question. What information does the table you created tell us about the number of immigrants obtaining green card in the more recent times, right? Because we're talking about 2018 now. Think about how many countries belong in each region. Is there any region that has a high percentage of green card holders relative to how many countries they have, right? So now, what does that mean? Going back to our table, you see, Europe has a lot of countries, right? So you could expect a lot of immigrants. Asia has a lot of countries, right? Not as much as Europe over here, but in this breakdown, but it still has. North America has a very small amount. Central America has a very small amount, right? So Africa has a very small amount. Oceania has a very small amount, right? The least comes from the least number we look at is Oceania, right? So once you create the pie chart, you should have an idea of how many countries. You should, before creating the pie chart, you should have an idea of how many countries are in each region, right? But does it look like any region that has, let's say, 4 or 5 countries, but a lot of people are coming from those 4 or 5 countries, as opposed to a region that has 15 countries, but not that many people are coming in, right? So I want you to talk about that, right? Okay, so for task 3. I want you to choose 3 countries, right? Any 3 countries, and create one line graph that compares the number of persons obtaining lawful residence, so basically green card, from each country between 2010 and 2018, right? So this is a region where you have data every year instead of every decade. And then the Word document is why did you choose these 3 countries? Is there any significant change in the number of immigrants from these countries that received green cards over time? How does the number from each country compare with one another, right? A paragraph about that, right? So I know you guys are writing oral histories for the critical issues part, so what might be a cool thing to do is the immigrants that you guys interviewed, right? You can maybe choose their countries, right? 3 of their countries. So again, you have a lot of countries: Austria, Hungary, Austria. You have a separate for Austria, separate for Hungary, Belgium, Bulgaria. Those are the European. You have China, India, Iran, Japan, right? So you have a lot of countries here, right? You have a lot of countries, and I want you to choose 3 of them. So let's create a new sheet. Move that over. Rename it. Call this task 3, right? And you're going to create, initially you want to create a table, right? So country, and then you want to put 2010 all the way up to 2010 up till, actually you want to do it this way. Put year, right? And you want to put your 3 countries over here. Again, let's go back. Let's copy 2010 all the way up to 2018, right? All the way up to 2018. Copy it. And remember, we want it to be vertical. So I'll right click and then transpose. That's the one I want to click, right? So those, you choose your 3 countries, and for each one of the countries, I want you to write down what um, the number of people that got their green cards was. Here's an example. Let's say I chose Belgium, right? I chose Belgium. I click on it, and then just to stay in place, I use the right key, right? That keeps me too much. Right here, right? I know I'm Belgium, so I'm gonna hit Shift and then move left. It highlights everything, right? Even though it looks blank, it's highlighted, right? I want to control, I'm not control, right click, copy, right here, right click, transpose, and this is going to be for Belgium, right? Now, you do this for 2 other countries, right? Don't choose Belgium. Try to choose countries that are interested, that you actually have some reason for choosing. Don't just choose 3 random countries, right? Because you're gonna have to write about it, right? Why did you choose those countries, right? You're gonna have to write about it. So choose some countries that actually um, mean something to you, right? It could be from the oral history, or maybe be a country that your ancestors came from, right? Or even if you came from, if you're an immigrant, right? Or any country. If you don't see a country that you like, try to choose one that's close by to the country that you want, and create a line graph out of that, right? So once you have all 3 countries, you create a line graph from that. So when you're creating a line graph, you want to make sure that on the vertical axis you have your green card holders. On the horizontal axis you have your years, right? And you're going to have 3 lines. You're going to have 3 lines, 1 line for each country. So that's how the line graph's going to look like, right? Again, I'll show you guys how to do that. And then on the Word document, you answer the questions, right? So what you could do is, if you want to work on a new Word document, that's perfectly fine. If you want to just hit enter, and if you're working on task 1 and 2, right, write task 1, and then write the word component here, type that up, and then task 2, word component, type it up, right? It should take more space for you, right? Type that up and then submit that, right? Make sure you save it as your name, assignment, integrated assignment 1, and you upload that on Blackboard. You just click on right here, and you just browse my computer and upload it, right? So some comments, some concerns I have: make sure you upload the Word document as either a Word doc, right? So file, so it's going to look like this, right? File, that's going to be the file extension, docx, right? Or a PDF. Pages doesn't work a lot of times, right? So if you're using a Mac, there's an option, I'm pretty sure there's an option to save it as doc, right? Or a PDF. And same thing with Excel sheet, right? Try to give me an Excel sheet. So file, save as an Excel sheet, right? Don't give me, even if you work on it in Google Sheets, I recommend that you guys work on Excel, but if you do it on Google Sheets, make sure you save it as a Google Excel, not a Google Excel, as a Microsoft Excel, and submit that to me. All right. Now some announcements. Next week you have your quiz, right? So I'm going to send an email about that. The quiz is going to be on simple and compound ratios, right? And converting units, right? So we went over that earlier this week on that video. So make sure you're studying. So next week is going to be that quiz, and also assignment 3 is also next week, Friday, right? Assignment 3 is due on the 24th of April, right? That's the recommended due date, right? 24th of April. So make sure you're looking at, I'm going to post that this probably this Thursday or Friday. I'm going to post that, right? So you'll have get at least a week to look at it, right? It's going to be on also that same topic, simple and compound ratio and unit conversions, right? So 2 things: quiz and um, the assignment 3. All right, guys, stay safe and email me if you have any questions.